Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media. We got our friends in from the Future Construction Leaders Foundation. Amber Webb, she's the trustee, and Azahalia Valdez is the executive director. How you folks doing?
Doing great.
Amazing. Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thank you. Azahalia, we're just going to start with you. I know you want most of the interview to go with Amber. That's okay. What's the mission of the organization?
Our mission is to provide programs to youth in hopes to encourage them to pursue careers in the construction and the trades industry. And we provide free programs to our San Diego County youth. So we're excited to talk a little bit about what we do. What
got you interested in construction?
My dad was in construction, so we were always building something on the weekends at home.
Now, were you building it for fun, or no, it actually served a function?
We had a tree house, so it was a function.
Of course.
But also we were learning how to do things around the house because we were a big family, so my dad needed hands to help out.
Right, and that's how that works. That's exactly right. What was the biggest thing that you built when you were growing up?
I think it was that tree house. And our dad had us build the furniture inside the treehouse because he had a bunch of stuff that he needed to get rid of.
What? Lots of great. How about you, Amber? How'd you get interested in this?
So both of my parents have been in construction. Wow. I was just talking to Azahalia about this before we came in. My mom has been doing accounting for different subcontractors, at least since I've known what she does.
Right.
And then my dad was also a heavy equipment operator. So naturally, I went into the office and helped my mom with accounting. And then over time, I just continued my own journey, worked for different subcontractors, general contractors. I did insurance for construction, went back to the construction world in my current role with the Associated Subcontractors Alliance. So helping out all the industry.
You know, you bring up something that we talk about all the time on our show. I've been honored to be involved with a group called the Classroom of the Future Foundation. Since it started in 1997, and sort of our DNA focuses on colleges and careers. What we always like to talk about in the career aspect of it, and I use my example quite a bit, I'm a former journalist, and then I went over to the dark side at the newspaper business and ran community and public relations for the Union Tribune. But I tell people that, listen, look at the Union Tribune, that at our heyday we had 2,400 employees. Only 1/8 were writers. So 7/8 of the newspaper did everything but write. To your point, in construction, there's zillions of jobs. You got insurance, or you got, talk about that.
Yeah, that's one of the points that we try to do here at Future Construction Leaders Foundation is we try to point out to the community, the children and their parents, that working within the construction industry doesn't necessarily always mean you're throwing a hammer. However, that is also a viable path.
Sure.
But there are so many avenues within construction. There's accounting, there's sales, there's equipment sales, there's suppliers, vendors, you've got insurance, you have lawyers, there's so many ways that you can get involved within the construction industry. There's just so much that they can, kind of move towards.
Well, and I think the great advantage of that, and certainly I thought you can jump in on this, and when you're working with middle school kids or you're working with high school kids, is, I don't like to really do any of that stuff, but I love to draw. We need artists. We need graphic artists. We need marketers. Talk about that.
Absolutely. I think that my pastime was drawing at school whenever I was kind of zoning out. So I definitely encourage people to draft out their ideas, right? So that's part of working in any field. And it is related to what you would be doing if you were building something tangible as a home or a building. We talk a little bit about drafting and what some of our programs are going to be focused on that idea of doing things by hand and then using the newer technologies. So that's kind of exciting for the youth. It takes away from it's just building, or doing hard labor. But the reality is that you have to start with pen and paper. And that's actually enticing for a lot of the things that we do in our programs.
Well, that ties into blocking and tackling. That's you got to start somewhere. But you brought up something interesting. I'll let Amber chat on this one a little bit. AI. How is AI being used in your field?
It is all over our field, actually. But I will say, from even other podcasts that I've personally listened to regarding AI specifically and construction specifically, it is one of the fields that people are saying, I'm not the expert here, but there are people out there that are experts on AI that are saying it's one of the fields that's going to be least interrupted or disrupted by AI. The AI tools that are out there actually are beneficial. My personal company that I work for, we are actually doing quarterly AI webinars for our members, which are general contractors, subcontractors, and those affiliate members that I spoke about, lawyers, right, all that, for them to learn how to use the AI tools that are available to help them in their business, specifically within the construction industry. So I think AI is going to be helpful. We're also, as FCL, we're creating a program currently with the help of San Diego State, which is really exciting. We don't have all the details yet. We're working it all out, but it will involve AI, students, and drafting, to Azalea's point, with your art skills and drawing. So we're really excited about that. That's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, we're talking with our friends from the Future Construction Leaders Foundation, Amber Webb, a trustee, joined by the executive director, Azahalia Valdez. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast. We're in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 60 years. They've been doing great things in our region, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's literacy, whether it's art, you name it, they're heavily involved in it. You bring up about AI, and we know with our work with San Diego County Office of Education, it's here. It's been here for a while. It's not going anywhere. So you need to embrace it and you need to use it the right way. And I agree with you. I think the applications in the construction field are just huge. Start with you on this, Amber. You can jump into it too, Azahalia. Do you actually go into the classrooms and work with the students, or do they come to you?
We do a little of both, actually. So we have an education committee that does essentially outreach to the different schools within the county, where they will go and present to all the students. Some of those schools have like a specific construction style program already built into their curriculum. So if they do have a setup like that, of course, we're going to outreach to them first. If they don't have a program like that, we're just going to reach out to the school and ask if we, the FCL, the Future Construction Leaders, can come in and speak to their students about our different programs that we have, especially since they're all free, which is amazing. And it just gives them another insight to what the construction industry is.
You'll rue the day you came in here. I've been heavily involved with the Classroom of the Future Foundation. And since 1997, we work with all the school districts, pretty much all 43 of them. Our current chair is the superintendent at National School District, Leangela Brady, who is spectacular. Azalea's nodding her head. She's a force, to say the least. Have you been to our CFF Soup Tank event at all?
We have not.
Okay, so Soup Tank is something that was the brainchild of Tim Baird. Tim is the retired superintendent of Encinitas School District. And he said, we're going to do a Shark Tank event with superintendents, and we're calling it Soup Tank. So we'll be doing the 5th year of this, where 9 superintendents make a 3-minute pitch to an audience of business folks on what they want, and then the business folks either make a contribution there or talk about them at the reception. So we need to have you at that event. And we also do a Career and College Pathways Summit, which is always at National University. So you guys would be a perfect fit for this, since we have access to 43 school districts and so forth on that. So I'm all excited about to follow up on that. Talk about needs. I'll start with you on this, Amber. Donations. How important is that, and where does it go?
Yes, it is very important. Without the donations and the help from the community, the construction industry, people outside of the construction industry helping, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. All of our programs, like I said before, are free to the community. And, as we all know, if it's free to the community, it doesn't mean that it's actually free. Somewhere capital needs to come in to help us put these programs on.
I'm just so glad you brought that up. Because people have the idea that if you are a nonprofit, then you don't need any money. Last I checked, the lights have to go on and people have to get paid. And it's a big misnomer on it. No, I think that's great. Is there a website where they can donate?
Absolutely. So our website is thefutureconstructionleaders.org. And on our website, they can check out all of our different programs. There's a donate button. They can sign up for our newsletter. So there's several ways. Yes.
Right, exactly. We come back from break. I want to talk about some of the stories that make you most proud. You've got 4 billion of them, so you're going to have to figure out how to narrow that down, and maybe talk about some of the challenges that are out there in this day and age, and maybe what some of our listeners can do to help support that aspect. When we return with Amber Webb, trustee for Future Construction Leaders Foundation, joined by her colleague, the executive director of the organization, Azahalia Valdez. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Our Spotlight on the Community show is brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're in our 19th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things for folks living in San Diego County. So honored to have in the studio with us today the brain trust, I'll say that, of the Future Construction Leaders Foundation, Amber Webb, a trustee, joined by the executive director of the foundation, Azahalia Valdez. So I'll start with you on this, Amber. I know you can probably be on the mic for another 7 days on this. Is there a story that just really jumps out at you?
There is. How'd you know, Drew?
I know. I'm omnipresent. Actually, I am not. It's stunning. I actually know this.
Yeah. So I've actually been a part of what we call the FCL Camp Teen Girls program since 2015. And it is really, it gives me chills every time I talk about it. And I wish so much that this program was around when I was in high school. I would have eaten it all up. It's so cool. So what we do is we put on a week-long free camp for teen girls specifically so that they can learn about construction with hands-on activities. And it's really, really cool to watch them come in on Monday all scared and timid and why did my mom make me go to this camp? And then come Friday, they're like, look at what I made. Look at what I built. I built this. I'm so excited. They're just so different, especially when it comes to confidence. So it's really awesome to watch that. And honestly, the entire community is involved. I think we counted this last camp we had in June, 400 different community members, whether they were financial donors, volunteers, the actual students, their parents, the board. It was awesome to see the community come together, all companies, union, non-union, it doesn't matter. You drop your affiliation at the door. It doesn't matter. It's all about the kids.
You know, you said something that I think is so critical on this, and especially when it comes to construction. I'm pitiful at many things. Construction's one of them. But when you show people, listen, anyone can do this, put together X, whatever the case may be, and then the confidence that comes out of that, like you just said, is just insurmountable, whether it's confidence to do your next construction product or is to move on to something that you never thought you could do, speak in public, or whatever the case may be. So I imagine that's the feedback you're getting with the teen girls in this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually have a program for our, what we call our journey women that come back to camp after their first year, they're an apprentice. And then after that, if they come back, they become a journey woman. And we have a program within the journey women where they can apply to be chosen to be essentially the superintendent on the project. And they do have to learn public speaking because they have to run stretch and flex every morning with the girls, with their team. And then they have to present to the team every day, like, this is what's on the schedule. This is what we need to get done. So it's really cool. It really provides them an opportunity to build on those skills as well.
Yeah, there's no question about it. So Zay, what are some of the challenges that you folks are facing?
I think destigmatizing the industry, I think we need to really look at it as a avenue, like Amber said, an avenue for many opportunities, not just, construction, building, but there's so much more. There's that confidence builder. There's that opportunity that, it's not just a man's male-dominated career. It's actually something that women can do, and we rock at it.
Well,
exactly.
I will guarantee you rock at it more than the males on this aspect of it. And listen, all these things should always have been doing for many, many years. Sometimes it takes us a while as humans to wake up, for God's sake. We were walking upright how many years ago and just barely figured to put out the wheel on a suitcase in 1970. And the wheel was around in 3000 BC or whatever. But I agree with you 200% on this. Also, start with you on this, Azahalia, and pivot over, to Amber. The collaborative nature of the field in itself, especially I'm preaching to the congregation, you know this better than I do. But when you have X amount of people working on a site or working on something, it could be 5 people, it could be 505 people in this area. Talk about the importance. If you're not out there rowing in the same direction, things are not going to go well. Talk about that.
I think that goes with everything, right? Including our community building. I think that what we are doing at Future Construction Leaders is definitely building for that future. Amber said it's for the kids. And if we're not instilling some form of encouragement that, there's so many opportunities for kids, they're not going to learn that. They're not going to see it, that's only for, say, men. That's not for girls. Like you said, we need to row together, and opportunities for everybody, not just for, the few selected.
Well, and listen, 1 + 1 does equal 3 or 10 or whatever the case may be, and especially in the field that you're in. We all know that in that area. And I think, when you mesh the different genders, you're going to get skill sets from both that, certainly can apply. Here's where, this thought process works. Here's where another one works. And I think that's terrific. It's like the same thing. Also, I've been remarkable to me. Can women do STEM? Of course they can do STEM. What are you talking about? They can do this, if not better than men on this aspect. So let's knock down these barriers, and I'm sure that helps quite a bit in that area. Where do you see, I'll start with you on this one, Amber, and then pivot over to Azahalia. Where do you see the organization, let's say 5 years from now?
In 5 years from now, I see us hopefully to be very strong in specifically San Diego, but also expand our outreach. We've actually already started doing that.
Nice. Where?
So we have our FCL Camp Teen Girls in San Diego, and this year we had our first FCL Camp Teen Girls in Silicon Valley, so up in NorCal. So we've started the process of expanding, and our goal is to continue to do that. over time. Obviously, it takes a lot of resources.
It does.
Humans as well as capital, and time.
Right.
Time is also of the essence. And I don't think we've actually talked about this yet, but everybody on our board, it's volunteer. So we all have our own jobs outside of the board. And that, time is hard to find.
Yeah, but when you find that time that you're passionate about, we all know that. Sometimes, yes, it does take time because time is relevant, but you don't look at it as time. And we all know that, whether it's the Classroom of the Future Foundation or it's Junior Achievement and groups that we work with pretty closely. It's so important. Are you looking for, Amber, since you're on the board, are you looking for more board members, or you're pretty much capped off on the amount of boards you have now?
We're actually looking for what we're calling like permanent volunteers,
okay,
or more stable volunteers, because, and of course, I'm sure we'll need more board members here and there as we go. I don't know that that's our immediate outreach.
Right.
It would be more just permanent volunteers that really get to know our programs and want to help push those programs to the next level. Obviously, everybody working together brings more ideas and oftentimes better ideas. So having those, like a volunteer pool that we can utilize, would be extremely helpful.
Right, exactly. So, Azahalia, are you working with some specific school districts in San Diego County, or just in general as a whole, the county?
We're looking with everybody. We're working with everybody as a whole. However, we are starting a little bit small right now. So we are in the East County.
Oh, good.
So we'll look out for some of the news coming up for our programs, as Amber mentioned.
Okay.
And kind of going back to what Amber was saying, we definitely need to build that momentum for FCL. So if the question still applies, my goal is to make FCL a household name for our San Diego County residents and youth, just to show them that there's important avenues here. There's important work being done.
We're going to help you with that trajectory, working with the Classroom of the Future Foundation offline. We'll talk more about that. I'll start with you on this, Azahalia, then we'll go over to Amber. Any final comments?
Thank you for having us.
Very
giving
good.
us this opportunity.
Our honor. Amber?
Thank you also for having us. The only other final comment that I would say is, as we talked about earlier, as well as volunteerism, monetary is helpful. So, and we are a 501c3, meaning a full nonprofit charitable foundation. So donations are write-offs. So That's also helpful.
We know that well from the Classroom of the Future Foundation. Well, wishing you guys, just some great luck. We're going to get you teed up with some things where you're going to be front and center with some of these decision-making educators, among others, and they'll probably put you in touch with other folks. And, as you move down the path here and you're, getting these success stories, I know you're talking about an East County school district. Sounds like it's a spoiler alert. We'll hold off on that. But when you've got that secured, we'd love to have you come back in with some of the clients that you're working with. How's that sound?
Absolutely.
That would be great. We do have one thing finalized that is in East County.
Yes, please.
That we can spoil.
Okay, what's that?
We have our upcoming Hard Hat Expo.
Okay.
And that's going to be on October 18th at Bostonia Global High School out in El Cajon, California. The registration is actually already open on our website for attendees. So if families, it's again free, all ages. We're going to have a construction zone, a robotics zone, a drone zone, and a kids zone. So a lot of cool activities. There will also be exhibitors there with hands-on activities for the kids and parents to try. So it's a really fun event, a fun program that, we hope to see people at.
October 18, right?
Yep.
So you're working with David Miyashiro out there. David is the superintendent of the Cajon Valley School District, and Bostonia is part of that
We're
district.
Working with the school directly.
Yeah, the guy's great, the principal there, and they've been featured on one of our podcasts as well.
It.
Well, listen, San Diego, smallest big town in the history of the world, 8th largest city, but it's you'd think it's like some rural community because everyone knows each other. Amber Webb and Azahalia Valdez, thank you so much. Congratulations to what you've already done as a success. for Future Construction Leaders Foundation, and know that your trajectory is going in the right direction.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, my pleasure. My name is Drew Schlosberg. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast in our 19th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades
You've
of
been
doing great
listening
things
to an
for people living in
episode
San
of Drew
Diego
Schlosberg's
County.
Spotlight
And to
on
our
the Community
listeners,
Show.
we hope you enjoyed the interview.
Amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.